there are a couple other things I can throw out there. One is to look at this whole issue of the Jerry Sandusky case. And I think there are enough questions that we can look at how it was handled as a university, vis-a-vis the NCAA, vis-a-vis spending $200 million. That's a lot of money. And it's not to find criminals as much as it is to say, was there fault, who's at fault, did we handle it correctly, and how can we do better going forward? Were there people who were maligned in this that should not have been? Were there people that left unscathed? And the same holds true for the second mile. You know, the Attorney General has, aside from the criminal weapons or arrows in the quiver, so to speak, on the civil side of the office, there's something called the Charitable Trusts and Organizations section, which empowers the Attorney General to oversee every nonprofit in the state. The Second Mile was a nonprofit. You know, were those people on that board, and again, not to single anybody out needlessly and not to malign anybody, but if there's responsibility for how that was handled, and Sandusky using that as a place to groom prospective victims, and was the reporting appropriately done to authorities by the fiduciaries who ran that and who were part of that board. So those are important questions for the Penn State community and for the state, and particularly if we're gonna look back at that and say, are our children safer 5 years later? If the answer is no, or almost as dangerously, we don't know, then we need to learn even more from that so it never happens again.
In your opinion, why is the perjury trial of Graham Spanier, Tim Curley, and Gary Schultz taking so long?
Well, that's one of the things I want to look at. You know, I touched earlier upon the fact that, you know, that was another blemish on this great institution of Penn State and on our Commonwealth. And you know, we don't have to just say, okay, it's over, let's move on. Let's be sure that we've looked at everything. Let's answer questions like that. Let's answer why certain people were charged, certain weren't. Not that we want to let anyone go unscathed, but we want to be fair. Part of the obligation of the Attorney General is to be fair. And sometimes the charges you don't bring are as important as the charges you do. So we want to be sure that we've learned every lesson from that, not just in terms of the criminal prosecutions, but also the handling of this by an institution. You know, was there a rush to judgment too quickly, you know, affecting any number of people? You know, everybody understands the desire to put it behind us and get it over, but that doesn't mean you make quick decisions that aren't always the best decisions.